Hey fourth graders, this video is for Tuesday, April 21st. This is lesson 9.2. I'm going to do half this lesson today and half the lesson tomorrow. Yesterday I introduced you to the tenths place, which is the place value to the right of a decimal point. So this is what we did yesterday. The hundreds, tens, and ones represent the whole numbers in a number to the left of the decimal point, and to the right of the decimal point is basically the fractional part of a number. So like for $3.25, that's the same thing as $3 whole dollars and 25 hundredths of another dollar, because you need 100 cents to make another dollar. So a 25-cent piece is 25 pieces of that 100. So we've been exploring this week. We're going to explore the connections between fractions and decimals, and like what each place of a decimal means compared to a fraction. So yesterday we talked about the tenths place. So everything to the right of the decimal, the first place value, it represents 1/10 of something, whether it's 5, 6, 7, whatever number it is, it represents a tenth. And then to the right of the decimal from there, which is what we're doing today, represents 100th. So like I said, this section has a lot of information to digest in it. So I'm only going to do part of it today. And then your assignment, instead of doing the homework page with this, because I just want you to do today's video with me, let it sit in your brain overnight. And then I'll give you another YouTube video to watch for today. But then tomorrow you can, you'll do the rest of the section with me on YouTube, and then you can do the homework page that goes with it. If you join me on Zoom today, I'm going to be doing some more place value practice stuff, and we'll do it in our math notebooks. So if you're coming to Zoom, that's what you need to bring with you. Okay, so this is lesson 9.2, like I said, relating hundredths and decimals. It says, in the 2008 Summer Olympic Games, the winning time in the men's 100-meter butterfly race was only 1/100th second faster than the second place time. That's like 1/100th of a second. That's so fast. That's crazy. What decimal represents this fraction of a second? It says you can write hundredths as fractions or decimals. All right, use the model and a place value chart. So this is very similar to what we did yesterday. It says shade 1/100th of the model. There are 100 blocks in this hundreds model. So 1/100th is just going to be one tiny little square. So that's 1/100th. Just think of this whole model as going to be one whole number. That's 1/100th of it. It says the model is divided into 100 equal parts. Each part represents 100th. So this we're going to write as 1/100th. And it reads 1/100th. You might hear me say 1/100th. That's the way you can say it too. So if you hear me say that, this is talking about the same thing. And then you can do it in the place value chart. Because it's 100th, the 1 actually goes in the hundredths place. Yesterday we were putting whatever the top number was inside the tenths place, but that's because our bottom number was a tenth. This time our bottom number is hundredths, so we have to put that in the hundredths place. So this decimal would be 0 whole numbers, 0 tenths, and 1/100th. That's where each of those numbers comes from. But it reads the same way as it does as a fraction. It reads as 100th. Another way you can do it is to use a number line. Label the number line with equivalent decimals. Locate the point 1/100th. So 1/100th is this really tiny first little line right here, because this whole number line goes from 0 to 1 whole, but it's broken down into 100 tiny little sections. It makes me think of a ruler. Rulers aren't broken down quite this way, but it's the same idea. It's one big section that's broken into pieces. So these bigger lines break it into the tenth markers. Because if you didn't have all these little tiny lines in the middle, this would be like 1/10th, 1/20th, 1/30, 1/40, 1/50, 1/60. 1/10th, 2/10ths, 3/10ths, 4/10ths, and so on. And then each of these tenths, so from here to here is 1/10th, because that shows it with a decimal, that's 1/10th. It's broken down into 10 pieces as well. So think of, it reminds me of the models up here. Yesterday we had a whole square that was the same size, but it was broken down into sections of 10. Like this was one whole section of 10, this would have been a whole section of 10, this is a whole section of 10. Because we're breaking this down, each of those 10s down into 10 as well, each of those 10 long sticks are now broken into 10 cubes. So that's where this comes from. Each section of 10 is broken into 10 sections too. So they put in all the fractions for us at the top. So now we have to find the equivalent decimals to it. So this looks just like we did it yesterday, because this fraction actually equals 1/10. This fraction equals 2/10. And the reason behind that is because if we were trying to find how these are equivalent, they're both multiplied by the same factor. 1 times 10 is 10. 10 times 10 is 100. So that means that these are equivalent fractions. So these are connected to what we did yesterday. They're just written in the hundreds format because it helps you connect to what you're doing today. Is the only reason they're doing that. So you don't have to write all of those in on all of these, but they do help you understand it a little bit better. So this one would be 0.30. That'd be 30 hundredths, just like the fraction. Because this is 3/10, and we know that 3/10 is 30, so that would be 30 hundredths. And you do that all the way down to make it match the fraction. All the way up to 1. And then it says, blank names the same amount as 1/100th. 1/100th is here, because this is all the way up to 10. So we have to, 10's too big for the 1, so we have to go down back to the 1 spot. So 1/100th, and it's written this way as a decimal, because there's 1 in the hundredths place. I think with the hundredths, the decimal or place value chart is really, really, really helpful. With the tenths, it's a little easier to remember just to put the numbers in that first spot. But when you're getting into the hundredths, it's a little more harder to remember like where things are going. So I will probably refer to this a lot more today, just because it does help you understand it, I think, the best. But as far as this goes, this is your equivalent decimal to your fraction. 1/100th is the same as 1/100th in fraction form. So the winning time was 0.01 second faster. All right, turn the page. This is page 502. It says, Alicia won her 400-meter freestyle race by 4 25/100ths seconds. So 4 whole seconds and 25/100ths of another second. How can you write this mixed number as decimal? So it says use a model and a place value chart. So this is doing the exact same thing we did on the other page, except for this is a mixed number, not just a fraction. With the one we did before, it was just the fraction 1/100th. There was no whole numbers to go with it. This one, is because it's a mixed number, it's got some whole numbers we got to shade in too. So this is 4 whole numbers. So I can shade in 4 whole models. And 25/100ths of the next model. So each stick is 10. So that's 10, 20, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can color yours in darker than I did if you want to, but I just kind of did it quickly. So this is my model that matches this mixed number. It's 4 whole sections, so there's your whole number. And then 25/100ths, 25 of the 100 pieces in the next fraction. So here's your whole numbers and here's your fraction. So this comes out to be 4 whole seconds and 25/100ths of another second. It's not 25 seconds out of 100 seconds, 25/100ths, 25 pieces of 1 second, which is just crazy to think about. So that reads 4 as 4 25/100ths. Now here's it is in decimal form. This is, like I said, where the chart becomes way handier. With this one, our whole number is 4. So the 4 goes into the ones place because we have 4 whole seconds represented there. And then we've got 25 hundredths, which means we have 2 tenths because the 2 is representing the tenths in the decimal side. And the 5 represents the hundredths place. So it's 4. So 4 and 25 hundredths is 4 wholes and 2 tenths, 5 100ths. So think of, you know, if you just had this fraction, or just even the numerator of the fraction, that would be the same thing. 25 is just 2 tens and 5 ones. Well, this kind of translates to be on the decimal side as the tenths and the hundredths. The 2 would be like in the tens place, kind of. It's not exactly the same thing, but it's really similar to that. And then the hundredths place breaks it down into even smaller pieces from there. There's just not a ones place on the right side of the decimal. So it starts in the tenths and it works backwards from the number system that we know. So this is 4 and 25 hundredths, which reads the same way. 4 and, because the decimal point is like and, 25 hundredths. And then here it is on a number line. It looks the same thing. This goes from 4 whole seconds to 5 whole seconds on here because this problem's measured in seconds. So this is 4 whole sections and 10 hundredths, which is 1 tenth. 4 whole seconds and 20 hundredths, that's 4 and 2 tenths. So it's still the same way, still broken down the same way. So 4 and 25 hundredths would be right in between these guys because 25 is between 20 and 30. So these decimals look like this. Because remember, these are like equivalent fractions. But I'm putting that extra 0 on there to remind me that my original fraction was in hundredths. Even though there's no number in the hundredths place up there because it's just 10. It's not like 10 in another number. I'm putting the 0 in just to remind me that that's the form it was in before. So it means that the 25 is in between these two. So this would be 4.25. Which makes sense because 25 is between 20 and 30. So 4.25, 4 and 25 hundredths, names the same amount as 4 and 25 hundredths. They're equal, they're just in different forms. So she won her race by 4 and 25 hundredths of a second. Okay, whew, that was a lot. So I'm just going to do this section up here with you. I'm going to save this for tomorrow. Because like I said, after we do this section today, I'm going to have you watch another YouTube video that kind of helps you connect some of the stuff we've been doing yesterday and today. But it just kind of lets it sit in your brain overnight so your brain can process it. And then tomorrow we'll dig into, I'll actually have you do it with me here. And then you'll do it on your own on the homework page. So just like we've done in class before, I've just kind of stuck it in your brain overnight and then we'll come back to it. Okay, so shade the model to show 31 hundredths. So there is no whole number with this fraction, it's just 31 hundredths. There's no whole number. So we're not going to color in a whole model because we don't have any whole numbers. So I've got 31 hundredths, so I'm going to color this in. I'm going to do 10, 20, 30, and 1. Boop, that little one right there. So because this is not a whole model, it's not going to have any whole numbers with it. So we're writing this amount as a decimal. I'm going to come over here and use the chart first before I write it over here because that's going to help me understand it a little better. Because I don't have any whole models shaded in, I'm going to put a 0 in the ones place because I don't have any whole numbers. How many tenths do I have? I have 1 tenth, 2 tenths, 3 tenths filled up. So 3 tenths. And I have 1 left over, that 100th place. So the tenths place is how many whole sticks did you fill in? It's like when you learned how to do ones, tens, and hundreds. You know, once you filled up, you know, 10 ones blocks, you could have a tenth, or, you know, a 10 block of 10. It works the same way. We're just going the opposite way on the decimal point. So it says write them out as a decimal. So our decimal would be 0.31. Now on these ones, they color in the model for you and you have to figure out what the fraction and the decimal is for number 2 and number 3. So again, there's no whole numbers shaded. If there were, like, it was like a whole block of green plus this block, then we could have a whole number, but we don't. So there is no whole number spot in this one. But there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tens shaded in. So I'm going to put a 0 for the 1 because I don't have any whole numbers. I have 6 tens filled in. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the hundredths place. Because there's 8 blocks left. So as a fraction, out of 100 pieces, we had 68 pieces shaded in. Same thing here. I'll start with the fraction this time. Again, no whole models shaded, so I can't use that one. I can't make a whole number with it. But I don't even have any whole tens shaded in, so I can't even do that. So with this one, I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Or no, 10. Duh, I can't count. 8. So 8 blocks filled in. So that would be 8 blocks filled in out of the 100, which written as a decimal. I got 0 in my ones place because I don't have any whole ones filled in. I actually have a 0 in the tens place because I don't have any tens filled in. I just have 8. And on here, they give it to you in number line form. So it looks like they break it down from 6 to 7. So there's 6.5, which means that this is 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, and there's 6.5. So this is between 1 and 2, so I know that much. It's got to be 6.1 something. And then if I count all the way down, that's 9 spaces. So it's 6.19, which means it's 6 whole spaces plus 19 hundredths of the space. I think the number line's a little harder to understand, but I think the models are probably the best way to do it. So, like I said, I just want you to let this process in your brain, watch the other video I left for you, and then just kind of let it soak in overnight. And then tomorrow we'll finish out this section, plus probably some of these problems over here. And then I'll do this page with you on Zoom. So, today on Zoom, like I said, we're just going to keep working on some place value stuff. And then I will see you tomorrow in the next video when we finish the section out. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!